Welcome everybody. We are, 103. So that's my goal today, is keep us on track, starting each session on the hour. Thank you so much for being here. We'll have a couple more folks join us as they kind of make their way back in. I'm going to hand around some clipboards. Kyra's got a bunch of things to kind of hand out to you. And this is going to be interesting. This will be fascinating. The somatic response. Yeah. I'm going to learn along with you. I've heard little bits about this, and I'm excited. So this is Kyra Newton. You might recognize her from working on the floor, the Elixir Bar, and yeah, wealth of wisdom, in particular with this topic. So I'm going to let you just kind of take it away. And as every session is, super informal. So if you need to get up, use the bathroom, or you got to go, it's just kind of it is what it is. Open house. Come and go as you please. And then we'll have 2 more sessions at 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock. If you haven't tried the bread, there's some gluten-free banana bread and muffins. The ingredients are right there. That was made by Lynn LaRoche, kind of highlighting her class, her sourdough. So there's sourdough muffins that she's teaching tomorrow. So if you like it and you want to inspire, join us tomorrow, and please do. But I'll turn this over to Kyra, and we'll have a good session.
Great.
About 1:45.
Okay, perfect. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Super excited. Yeah, so we'll have clipboards piece passed around, and then I have 2 little sheets that we're gonna reference and play with. And then, because I love this stuff, if you want, I can also send out, it's a 9-page little workbook, and then this informative other workbook that we'll talk about. Yeah, okay. So, somatic trauma resolution. I first thought it would be really great to break down each word and see what our familiarity is with this topic. So who knows what somatics mean? Some hands? Of the body. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So the prefix, the Greek word, is relating to the body or the organism. And so that's going to include our flesh, our muscles and fascia, our bones, our mind, our organs, everything that makes up this animal body that we are in. And somatics is really, in comparison to psychology, referring to the body. So when we hear things like somatic healing, somatic trauma resolution, it's going in through the body versus focusing through the mind, which would be more psychology, psychotherapy. Okay, trauma. What do we know about trauma? What are some words or thoughts? Too much, it hurts. PTSD, too fast, exactly. So one of the definitions of trauma is too much, too fast, too big, too little, not enough, too hurtful. So these are experiences marked in time that we have that can be very disturbing. They can be overwhelming. And there are categories of big T trauma and little t trauma. And most of us have experienced both. So we can experience these through our own life experience, our own lived experience, and also through observing. So the example that I give of a big T trauma that we could observe is a car accident. So we see that a lot on the roads in winter, this kind of thing. So that's something that we're observing. A disaster is a big T trauma, death. All of these are really, really impactful for our nervous system, our body, and social engagement. Little t traumas can be things that happen in a minor incident. So for example, an argument or a disagreement. It could be a fall. Things that have an impact on you, but they're not catastrophic to your nervous system or to your life as a whole. So when we're talking about trauma, it's very nuanced and complex as well. Each body, each person, we're all going to experience it in a relative manner. So something that's a big T trauma for one person might not be for another. Same as a little T trauma could be devastatingly impactful. So while we can categorize the two, they're also very different depending on our development and how we have grown up in the world. Okay, resolution. What do we think of with resolution? Finality, resolve. Are there any images that come to mind or feelings? Relief, space, yeah, spaciousness, resolution. Anything else? Sometimes we can think of it as like a coming to an end, like a graduation. That's a resolution. That's a completion of something. So when we're working with resolve, especially with trauma and through somatics, we're actually looking at completing a cycle. So in reference to the nervous system, we're looking to complete a cycle of fight, flight, or freeze. Who's familiar with these? It's kind of trending now, so we're hearing more and more about it. Yeah? So what do we think of with fight? The word fight.
Physical action.
Physical action. Yeah. Defense. Yeah. Combative. Fight. Okay. Anything else? Anger. Anger. Anything else? Fight. Okay. Humanity? Argumentative. Yeah. Also humanity. Yes. And fight is a natural survival response and something that is a part of our animal body. So we're actually you can stand and do this, or you can just sit and do this. Because I am a somatic practitioner, my life is about embodiment. I thought it would be interesting for us to have an embodied experience of the 3 Fs. And I actually think of them as friends. Often fight, flight, and freeze get seen as these like bad things that we want to get rid of. But in reality, fight, flight, and freeze are our survival responses to threat. And so they're actually coming in to serve us. It's when these cycles do not get completed and we're stuck in a functioning flight, or we're stuck in a functioning fight or functioning freeze, that we can see a lot of disruption in our life. So we're gonna, you can stand, you can sit, whatever feels good. And we're gonna try on fight. Yeah. So fight is often, there's muscle tone, there's tension. So I'm gonna invite you to take your fists, and you can either have them in like a combative shape, and maybe even allow your face to get into this. Like something's coming at you, a big lion or tiger. Yeah. Yeah, a bear, exactly. Yes, or a lion, like, You see this with dogs too, yeah? If a dog is feeling threatened, they're gonna bare their teeth, they're gonna get down, they might come up, exactly. So that's our fight, yeah? And some of us have an aversion to these responses as well. And that's something that can happen over time, especially with developmental trauma. If fight has not been safe to express, we can have aversion to it as well. So the next one is flight. So what do we think of with flight? Run far and run fast. Yeah. Flee, avoid, exactly. Yep. Escape. Anything else? Okay, great. Okay, so let's bring this one into a bit of embodiment. So something's in front of you that feels uncomfortable, something you don't want. I invite you to place your hands out in front of you and push away. You can close your eyes if that feels supportive, or you can keep them open, but you don't want this thing. And you might even turn your head. You might even turn your head away and get this feeling of moving away from. And see how that is. Yeah. So flight is hiding, running away, escaping, whereas fight is that combative, like I can. Both fight and flight have an energy of I can. I can. So there's activation within the nervous system to mobilize. So we're being mobilized to either run away or mobilized to fight. And I would love for this to go around. This is where our sympathetic is going to be arising. And we actually always have a sympathetic charge no matter what we're doing. So right now you're sitting, your body's digesting, you're awake, you're present, you have a little bit of sympathetic charge. You're breathing. Exactly. However, most of us, we're present, we're able to look around. We have also social engagement. So we're here, we're in the ventral vagal state with a bit of sympathetic. So as those go around, okay. Some of the impacts of being stuck in a fight or a flight can impact our body on a molecular level, can impact our digestion, our sleep, our sex drive, our ability to focus, And so with trauma, whether it's a big T trauma or a little t trauma, if we are in an unresolved fight or flight response, we can start to see this coming out in reactive behaviors, in combative ways of communicating, procrastination. It can start to show up in other areas of our life. So our work relationships, our intimate relationships, how we come into the world and get tasks done. It can be very much like, I have to do this and I'm going to do this and it's going to get done. That's fight, right? And you can kind of see the embodiment of that. Here it goes. We're doing it. Or flight. This, I'm not ready to do it. This isn't, oh, I'll leave it for now. Oh, I can't talk right now, maybe later, right? There's a bit of moving away and a distancing from that thing. So when we're doing resolve work with somatics, we're using the nervous system to find deactivation after the activation. And so this is really the beautiful part, and this is what I get excited about with work like somatic experiencing, inner relationship focusing, and parts work, is that we're not just trying to ground ourselves and calm ourselves. And this is what a lot of people tend to perceive that regulation is, that we need to take a deep breath and center ourselves. So this is called a top-down approach. Yeah? So a top-down approach is, I'm going to use the word imposing on our body, on our mind, something. So that could be, for example, if I tell you to take a deep breath right now, let's try it. Take a deep breath. Feels good, right? So that is a tool of regulation. However, it's not a full tool of resolution. And the reason is because we're not actually, yeah, I can close the door. Instead of competing with my voice, I'm getting louder and louder. Okay, so the difference between top down, where I'm inviting you to take a deep breath, or you're inviting yourself to take a deep breath, and an inside out approach, where we're actually going to notice the quality and the state of our breath, which we're going to try right now before I explain it. So you can close your eyes or you can keep them open and start to tune in and notice your breathing as it is. The quality of it, the depth, the pacing. And if your eyes are closed, you can open them. So an inside out approach is actually meeting ourselves where we're at in the moment. So you might notice maybe your breath felt a little bit stiff or sticky or shallow, or maybe it felt really deep and pleasurable. So an on-top approach is something that we're telling ourselves to do. So it's kind of, it's meeting our system like this, like kind of not fully meeting it, yeah? Take a deep breath, that's meeting it like this. Seeing where our breath is actually at is meeting ourselves and our nervous system from the inside out and observing what's already here. And from this place, we can find resolution. And so this is why we often find that, and I want to give a little disclosure that I fully believe in these practices and that they serve a purpose to find grounding, to find a sense of calm. But things like breath work and yoga and meditation, all of these are a top-down approach because they're telling ourselves how to be. They're meeting us kind of like this. Take a deep breath, take this shape, clear the mind. Whereas when we're doing trauma resolution work, we're seeing what's not resolved. Is there fight that hasn't been resolved? Is there flight? Were we in a situation where we couldn't get away? And is that a template that our system is running on? So we haven't gone into freeze yet, but I wanted to see if there's any questions so far with fight and flight. Yeah.
I would imagine that there's like childhood trauma
Mhm.
that goes all the way through to like adulthood, and that's probably what you're digging for. when you're
Mhm.
working with people.
Yeah. So what often happens is we have those developmental traumas that are sometimes not even within our conscious memory that will start to surface as we pay attention to what's here and now. So for example, if we notice we have like, I get really irritated and I'm not sure why, and there's this sensation of like gripping and ugh. So that might be where we start. We meet ourselves there. And as we go back, there might be a 5-year-old part that we notice is dealing with not being seen or not being heard. And so there could be a bit of fight there, fighting to get seen, fighting to get heard. And now we notice there's this irritation that happens, and it's starting to spread throughout our life. So we can have experiences that are traumatic from childhood all the way up to yesterday that can have an impact on our nervous system and our quality of life. Any other questions or thoughts?
Right, like
Yeah.
somatic work, you don't actually have to go into the trauma, right? Like,
Yes.
and
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So this is the beautiful thing about the work that I do with somatic experiencing, parts work, interrelationship focusing is that, and this is really, really powerful for people who have experienced violence, sexual abuse, really big T trauma, is that we actually don't have to talk about the story at all. And so in therapy, it's often we walk in the room and we go straight for the brick wall. What's the trauma? Tell me the thing that happened, right? And for our system, what's actually happened is we're meeting the vortex of trauma. We're meeting that big zone, and that can be overwhelming. And that can often send us into a freeze, dorsal vagal, this place. And some people will notice after a therapy session where we go straight for the brick wall, there's exhaustion, there's shut down, there's overwhelm, there's confusion. When we're talking about it, there's memory loss, these kinds of things. So with somatic work, because we are relying on the nervous system and the story that the body is telling, we don't actually have to relive or retell the trauma story. The body remembers. The nervous system has the information. So this can be really liberating for a lot of people who have experienced both big T and little t trauma. Thank you, Carrie. That was, so great. Okay, so I wanted to get into, okay. I want to get into some tools and methods that are used. Just want to make sure. Okay. So when I say that we don't have to tell the story, but we can rely on the body story and the nervous system, some of the things that we're working with are sensation. So what comes forward when you hear the word sensation? Touch? Yeah. Feeling? Mm-hmm. Tapping? Yep, tapping. Mm-hmm. Pain? Yeah. Temperature? Yes. Okay, yes. So we're getting a little bit closer to the meat of sensation, and I'm gonna read some of these out, and this will be emailed to you if you'd like it. Some familiar sensations: achy, fluttering, foggy, heavy, weighted. Sensations with a nerve-like quality: prickly, burning, buzzing, itchy. Sensations that have movement: shaking, pounding, fluttering, queasy or wobbly. Sensations that drain or lack life force energy: congested, dull, suffocated, and heavy. And then sensations that often mean well-being: warm, relaxed, open, and light. So sensation is not actually accessible to every body. People who are neurodivergent sometimes are not able to tap into sensation. And so they can work with image. We can work with image. An image of a tree could be something that is regulating and grounding. Whereas an image of a red fire truck could be dysregulating and activating and could signal that fight or flight or freeze. So we work with sensation. We can work with image. We also work with behavior. So noticing behavior, which could be actually a movement, like, oh, I notice when I get angry, this happens a lot. I tense up and my hands do this. This is a behavior. Could also be relational behavior, reactive behaviors. We know this. And then meaning, the meaning that we give to things. Sometimes when we're working through traumatic experiences, we can have meaning around images, meaning around the memory or what happened to us. And so the meaning has a very large significance in the resolution because we can also alter our meaning. We can change meaning as we find resolve. And then affect. So in somatic experiencing, affect refers to emotion. And so the emotions that arise when we're regulated, when we're in that social engagement. If you all have your paper, this green, that's joy. It's connected. Show the people on the Zoom. Compassion, mindful. So those are some of the emotions. And then in fight, we talked about rage, irritation, flight, worry, anxiety. I'm intentionally not going into freeze yet. It's a little bit more meat to it. So yeah, we'll go into freeze in this moment. So freeze, what do we know about freeze? When we think about freeze? Stuck. Mm-hmm. Stiff. Yeah. Do you get any images? Freeze.
Cessation of movement.
Cessation of movement. Yeah, like this. Yep. And that was a great behavior there. Like hard. Ice. Yes. Ice. Yep. Anything else? Disassociation. Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Disengaging. Yes. Withdraw. Totally. Yep. And so freeze is what happens. Have you ever watched National Geographic where the antelope is running and there's a lion or something going to eat them? So let's play this out. Okay. So I'm the antelope and I'm in the forest. Okay. I'm just doing my thing. So I'm oriented, and we'll go through orientation soon. I'm looking around. I feel safe enough to look around. Everything's fine. And then I orient towards danger. So there's something over there. There's a sound. Yeah. Okay. So now I don't like it. What am I doing? I'm running. I'm in flight. Okay. I'm in flight. Okay. And then it's right here and it's about to take me. What's going to happen is I'm going to freeze. Yeah. So I've oriented to the danger, the threat. I've made a decision very quick. This happens so quick. I've made a decision to flee. So I've run. Now my subconscious mind, my nervous system, and my survival instincts are aware I'm not going to make it. The antelope, not me. The antelope is not going to make it. I dissociate. I leave my body. And there's so much intelligence in this. The reason is so that we're not there for it. We're not present for the clamp. So it is a leaving of the body, leaving of the system, a dissociation, so that we're not present for the chomp. Yeah? So with our systems, how we can understand this is if we have unresolved fight, if we have unresolved flight, where we were not able to get away, we were not able to fight, often what happens is we go into a functioning freeze. And so a functioning freeze or a freeze is when we feel immobilized. There's nothing to be done. And so we go into this state. And underneath, there's sympathetic charge. And so this is actually, I get excited about it because we can resolve freeze. We can be in a freeze state and come out of it by accessing what needed to happen and didn't. So whether that was fighting back or having a protector come in and fight for us, or running away, something like this is going to move us out of this state of I can't, I'm immobilized, there's nothing to do. And it's going to move us into I can. Either a protector is here with me and I can, or I can within myself. So with freeze, and you can check out this top page here, there is shame, dissociation, withdraw, isolation, numbness. And this is really where we see an impairment on digestion, on immune function. And this is often where we will see a lot of people who have things like Crohn's, irritable bowel syndrome, or irritable bowel disease, ulcers. This can also be chronic migraines, lots of memory problems as well will happen when we're in a functioning freeze, as well as dissociation. All of a sudden not knowing where we are, feeling very confused, this kind of state. Freeze, and earlier I said that the 3 Fs, I view them as friends, which might seem strange, but they're here for a reason. Same with the antelope, right? The antelope's going to get chomped, so they leave. They're not present. That is so intelligent, right? And so if we are in a state of functioning freeze, it's because our system is perceiving that there's still threat. And so it's making an intelligent choice to avoid it, to be away from it. And so we definitely don't want to make ourselves wrong or make anyone else wrong for having functioning freeze or unresolved fight or flight, because their system is actually doing all that it can to avoid perceived threat, or if they're in a implicit trauma memory of what happened in the past. So we can have that template of trauma that we're living out. That's kind of in like repeat. We're stuck here. Yeah. So it's very intelligent. So we don't need to make ourselves wrong. I really want to name that these happen for a reason and with intelligence, and they can be resolved. Questions? Yeah, self-blame I would put with shame. And if there's a big shame body in the individual, it would probably be within the freeze. Yeah, and especially with attachment theory, shame is often coming when there's that boundary rupture and that, lack of secure attachment. So I would say shame is a friend in that it's here to teach us. It's here to teach us what we didn't get enough of and what we need more of. And so we can, instead of having that aversion to shame, we can meet it with curiosity and understanding. Why? Where does it come from? What did little me need? Mm-hmm. And so in that way, it's a friend where we can start to get to know it. Yeah. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. 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 Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, fawn and in somatic experiencing and with some other individuals spearheading this kind of field, fawn has come about. And do we know what fawning is? F-A-W-N. Yeah, like the animal. Yeah, fawning is this place of abandoning one's needs, self-sacrificing, people-pleasing. It's also merging one's identity, one's sense of self with another in order to be accepted, in order to have perceived secure attachment and relationship, and to essentially obtain a goal, whether that be love, acceptance, lack of conflict. So the thing with fawning is that it's not so with polyvagal theory, it doesn't really have its place on the map yet. So I don't really dive into it when I'm just looking at somatic trauma. I dive into it more with somatic attachment. and attachment theory, because it's very much relational. Whereas when we're looking at survival instincts, fight, flight, and freeze, we have that concrete tracking of what's happening in the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system. And we can track it with fawning too. There's an activation, there's sympathetic, and then we go into a behavior change. Oh, if I make myself happy and joyful, this person won't be angry anymore. That's fawning, yeah? And so that's an I can, and that's a shifting, trying to, yeah. That is a protective measure, exactly. And so to resolve that, we would go in and look at what needed to happen. Did a protector need to be there? Someone to say like, no, this behavior is not right, whatever that may be, take that person away, right? So maybe they come in with fight or flight, give you the opportunity to get away, or they fight for you if it's a child part that we're dealing with. Yes. Yep. Yeah. The education system is designed for children to fawn in order to get acceptance, in order to function in the social structure that we've developed, for sure. Yeah. Of course.
There was this.
Yeah. Yep. That happens all the time. Totally. A natural response. So with that, when we're looking to resolve, first we want to honor the freeze part. And so in somatic experiencing, in the work that I do, we actually spend time just being in the freeze, because we often have an aversion to it. Like this is weird. Usually, like I'm not really here. I'm not really in my body. There's a lack of understanding. When we spend time allowing the freeze to be here in a relational way with someone who can guide and track the nervous system, what happens is, and I've seen this time and time again, is we come out of the dorsal vagal, the freeze, and usually something shows up that's either like, oh, I wish I could have gotten away. And it doesn't happen that instantly, but we get to the fight or flight underneath it. That's sympathetic. Because there's always going to be, like, we only go into freeze when we can't fight or flight. So when we're coming out of it, we'll see how we would have wanted, what we would have wanted to happen. So it's kind of like that's why this is a wave. It's like, oh, I wish I could run away, but I can't. So I'm going to immobilize. I'm going to dissociate and not be here, be small. So to find resolve, we spend time here pendulating and titrating, which I'll talk about in a moment. When we're coming out of it, we find what the part would have wanted to happen, the survival part. Oh, I really wish someone would have put me in the car and taken me away. And then we come out. Make sense?
Yeah, it just is scary.
Yeah, and we can talk after too, so I can give you a little bit more personal insight as well. Yeah. Okay. So I just mentioned titration and pendulation. Is anyone familiar with these? Okay, great. So titration is essentially touching in on the trauma in bite-sized digestible pieces so that it can be dissolved. So we do a little bit at a time, And this happens sometimes in a full session, sometimes a couple sessions, sometimes within ourselves over time. And so the difference that I have seen, I've been to many talk therapists for many, many years, and the difference between coming in, hitting the brick wall, what's the trauma? Tell me what happened. And titration is that we're going between what feels good, grounded, supportive, what feels like a yes for our system. And then we go, so this is called the healing vortex. And then we go in between the trauma, the point that doesn't feel good. And we move between the two in a way where the system is not getting overactivated. So we're not going, woo, we don't want to do that. We don't want to go, woo. We want to be dipping with ventral vagal and a little bit of activation. Ventral vagal, a little bit of activation. So we're creating these little waves in order to dissolve the trauma. So trauma work is not big cathartic releases. That's not trauma work. And the reason that it's not trauma work is because we are sending our system into sympathetic. So I can give the example of in some healing spheres, we go into a big thing and there's a lot of crying and rage and a lot of emotion and we're expressing and it's cathartic and it feels like this is healing. But what's happening on a nervous system level is that our sympathetic has gone really high and we're usually at risk of going into dorsal. That state of, I can no longer handle this, I'm overwhelmed, I'm leaving. And the problem with this is it can be perceived as peace. It can be perceived as being in a meditative state. And so what can happen is we can have these big cathartic things happening, these big releases, and then, whew, nothing. We're out.
But those kind of experiences can be traumatic in themselves.
They can be traumatic in themselves. Emotional overload. And that's why it keeps coming back. Exactly, because we haven't done the titration to let the system know it's safe to resolve this. It's safe to complete it. So we always need ventral vagal dialed up in order to heal trauma. So we're working in waves with these two. Yeah? Yeah. Yeah. And this is, and breathwork practitioners are learning a lot more about being trauma informed and what it means to work with individual bodies, because a breath that's really strong and deep might not bring someone into a sympathetic, but for someone else, they might be going way too high. So we need to have an understanding that every body is different. And to find resolve, we have to be aware of that charge and aware of ventral vagal, of regulation. So that's pendulation. And this will be in the handout that's emailed out as well. So I want to give you an experience of an embodied, regulated experience, lack of better words. So you can close your eyes for this, or you can keep them open, whatever feels good for you. Hi, welcome. That's okay. And I invite you to think about a place that you love, a place where you feel really good. This could be an imaginary place. This could be a place in nature, a home. And as you're thinking about this place, see if you can really see it in your mind's eye. The colors, shapes. Maybe there's smells that you can remember. Maybe there's taste or image, thoughts. And if you work with sensation, see if there's any sensations in your body. Maybe a softening, a warmth. Noticing the impact of that experience or this place. And then when you're ready, knowing that you can come back to that moment at any time, that place at any time, you can open your eyes if they're not already open. And if that was successful for anyone, it's okay if it wasn't. You might share some words. Relaxing. Peace. Mm-hmm. Happy. Freedom. Mm-hmm. Family. Beautiful. Sleepy. Yeah. Any body sensations? Light. Light. Ah, not heavy. Yes. Smile. Yeah. Anything else? Pardon? Relief. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Softness. Yeah, softness. Yeah. Did anyone notice a quality change in the breath? Yeah. In the body at all? Shoulders relaxing, maybe really connecting to the seat underneath you. Stomach softening. And this is beautiful, right? Because what's in the stomach? Digestion. And so when we're in that state of regulation, our body can do what it's meant to do, right? So that's a little tool that we use to find regulation that we can also tap into. It's also what we use when we're dealing with the trauma vortex. We find a healing vortex that we're really, really grounded in. There's a lot of sensation, image, meaning, and we go between that and the trauma piece. So we're pendulating between the two. And this is what causes safety. And the only way to do trauma work and heal trauma is through safety. And then this can dissolve. And then we have this. Yeah? Okay. So pendulation, and we were doing an embodied experience, an embodied experience of positivity, grounding, support. Yes. Okay. Did we do the embodied experience of freeze? Did we give ourselves that? No. Okay. So let's try that. Then I'll pass out the handouts and we'll do them again so that you can do some creativity with it. Okay. Freeze. And I just want to let all of you know that I am very comfortable holding space for freeze. If you notice that you're really going into it and it feels a little bit uncomfortable, you can always orient and come back to the space. And so orienting is taking the eyes and seeing. This communicates to the physical body and the mind, I am safe. It's safe to look around. I can be here. It's using our eyes. Or we can use touch, yeah? I'm here. This is my body. These are the edges of my skin, yeah? So those are two tools that you can use if while we're doing this experiment, you feel a little bit like, whoa, I'm not here anymore, yeah? Okay. So you can close your eyes or you can leave them open, whatever feels good. You can touch into this place of frozen, of numb, of timelessness. Slowing down, withdrawing. And for some of us, it might feel really pleasurable not to be here. And for others, you might need to look around the room, make contact with your body. And when you're ready, you can come back. We're all going to orient. So taking your eyes through the space. And really allow your head to turn, allow your spine to rotate. So we see color, we see shape. That might have been successful for you, that might not have. That might have been comfortable, that might have been uncomfortable. And then I invite you as you're looking around to find something you want to look at. So for me, it's a plant. That aloe vera looks cool. For you, it might be a color or a shape. So let yourself scan until you find something. Or a lovely person. And just take it in. See if you can soak it up for 1 second, 3 seconds. And notice what you notice. And plenty of time, you can come back. How was that? What did you notice? Pardon? Colors. Do you want to share any of the colors? Blue. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Beautiful. Mm-hmm. Expansion.
Notice during the freeze part, tendency to hold the breath.
Uh-huh. Freeze, tendency to hold the breath. Yeah. Do you find it holding up high or down low? High. Yep, that totally makes sense. And so with freeze, often freeze goes up and out. Yeah. Regulation, coming back, goes down. That's why we have the word grounding, right? Because the energy, the deactivation brings us down. The activation comes up. When we go into freeze, we're usually up and out. Whew.
Are you talking feeling?
Both. Yeah, we did 2 activities, so it could be the orientation or the freeze, whatever you want to share on.
For me, when I looked at the warmth, I felt an expansion.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Deep breath, freeing, expansion. Nice. Yeah.
Back there, because it was like light.
Uh-huh.
It used to be glowing.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes plastic, sure.
Uh-huh.
They pull out and they're useful.
Yes. Yes. So there's meaning here.
There's so much
Yeah.
used to be like
Yes. Beautiful. Uh-huh. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So any other thoughts? I'm gonna pass these around. So we're gonna just quickly do our fight, our flight, our freeze again. And I'm gonna invite you to write down words, draw little symbols, little pictures, anything that comes up. Yeah. And we're gonna, if you want, you don't have to, you can stand or you can sit. And we'll do this and then we'll close. I'm a little bit late. I'm right on time. Okay, yeah, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay. We're good, we're passing. So on your paper, you'll read, there's fight, there's flight, there's freeze. Underneath are the columns. If you're at home, this will be emailed out. So for now, you can just write it on your own. So we're gonna embody them, and then we're gonna write what we notice. There could be meaning, there could be memory, there could be symbols, color, sensation. Yeah, there could be emotion. So let's hold space for if emotion does come up, that it's totally natural. We are creating a safe space together. We're co-regulating together, and any space can be healing. Do all have the paper? Almost. One more back here, yeah? Yeah, okay. All right, stand or sit, you choose. I wouldn't recommend laying down, so standing or sitting it is. Okay, fight. So first, just maybe say that word with me. Fight. Fight. Notice how you want to say it. Fight. Fight. Yeah. Okay. What does your body want to do? Yeah. Yeah. You want to fight someone? Yeah. I invite you to really give yourself the embodied experience of it. It's okay. Yeah. So fight. Like. Yeah. Right. There's like. Even if you take your fist and give yourself the experience, doesn't have to be at anyone but give yourself fight. That embodied experience of fight. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Now let's write just whatever comes through. Pour it out. Symbols, images, words, fight, emotions, tiring, increased heart rate. Yeah. So this is for you. Put whatever feels, any images that you had. If you saw me doing something, you were like, it's that one. And knowing that you can come back to this one just because we're conscious of time, we'll go to flight. So for me, this really works with my hands out. You can do this if you want. You can have your own experience of it. We want to get away. Yeah, there's something that we don't want to be around. We don't want. So we're pushing it away. We're maybe looking away. We're maybe moving away if possible. Flight. We're hiding. Maybe you want to get small. Maybe you're imagining that you're dissolving into the ground. You're fleeing, running. Whatever it may be. And then just write. Flight. What comes to mind? What was in your body? What did you notice? There's no right, there's no wrong. What did you notice? This is for you. Concave contraction. Yeah. Concave contraction for my people on the Zoom. Okay, knowing you can come back to that and write more. Last, we have freeze. So with freeze, we're withdrawing. We're not really here. We're numb, we're frozen. Time slows down. Good. And then we'll come back out of that one. If you need some extra, tap on yourself. Sometimes it's hard to come back out of that one if you let yourself go into it. And then you can write. Freeze. Colors, shapes, images, sensations. So those are our 3 Fs, fight, flight, freeze. And I want to leave us with some regulation. Yeah. So you can do this seated, you can do it standing. It's going to have a really potent effect if you can feel gravity underneath your feet. So this super simple, super organic and natural is a way to rebalance your vestibular system. It's something I integrate into pretty much everything I do. It's swaying. Yeah. And what do we do with babies? We rock them. And this is to give them a right relationship to the earth, to gravity. So you can stand or you can sit. I like to stand so I can really feel my feet wide. And then we're going to sway. We're going to sway from side to side. And as we're swaying, really feeling the weight of your bones shifting from side to side. If you're seated, feeling your spine rock from one side of your sits bone to the other. You might close your eyes. Noticing spontaneous breath. Varying your pacing. You could move quick, you could move slow. And then allow it to quiet down so that it becomes smaller until you find your center line, your still point. And before you change gears, just notice how that was for you. And then if your eyes are closed, you can open them, look around again. As a reminder, this is orienting to space. If ever you find yourself overwhelmed or anxious, you can look around. No one will know either. They'll just think you're looking for something. But really, you're telling your body, I'm safe. It's okay. Yeah. Okay. Do we have any last questions? We have about a couple minutes. Yeah. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. Yep. Like is it EMDR? EMDR. Yeah. Using the eyes. From my understanding, it does something in a part of the brain that I can't remember right now. Yeah, that would be under the umbrella of somatics. Yep. Yeah. Any other questions? If using eye, so often in some therapies, there's an eye focus. EMDR and ART. Yeah, they would be under the umbrella of somatics, using eye gaze, creating that connection between the occipital and the part of the brain that I can't remember. Yeah. Yes. Yep. Yes. Pardon? Exactly. Yes. Right. Yeah. And actually, which is really interesting you say that too, because there's a lot of EMDR who are now meeting somatic experiencing and blending them, so that there's an awareness of how the nervous system responds when you are doing that eye work, when you are meeting the experiences. So I've seen really, really amazing practitioners blend the two. Yeah.
Systematic trauma relief help rewire the brain.
Yes, totally does. Yep. Our brains are so malleable and flexible, and we can totally repattern our brains, repattern that relationship between body and mind. So yes. Yeah. So I have a couple other things in here that you can that will go out to you, as well as a list of the sensations. We didn't have time to get into the feeling wheel. The feeling wheel is really amazing. We have so many emotions, and you can have like 7 of them at one time. Then in this booklet, there's also needs, examples of needs that we have, and what it feels like when they're met versus when they're not met. So this is something you can look into on your own. It'll be sent out. And then I also have Deb Dana's polyvagal cards. So if you want to come choose a card for yourself, you can. It's fun. There's a little description. And lastly, I didn't get to this, and I knew I wouldn't, but I brought them anyway. These are some nervine herbs. So nervine herbs are going to support in the regulation of your body. So we are working with the nervous system to find that sense of safety and support. So we have motherwort, passion flower, St. John's wort, skullcap, holy basil, nettle, and lemon balm. And I love an oat straw. Exactly. Yes. It's like a hug for the nervous system. And you can make a blend too of these teas and sip it all throughout the day, this kind of thing. So any other questions before we close?
Thank you. This is very, very good.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yes. Yay, good. Yeah, you're welcome. And if you want to, I don't have my business cards because my email's all whacked up. So you wouldn't be able to email me anyway. But if you want my contact information, you can have it. I also have, for the women in the room, an event. So if you want to take a postcard, you can. That's at the end of the month. Brittany, who's facilitating later today, will also be hosting a part of the workshop at our event. Yeah. So cards, postcards, check it all out. It's all good. And if you have questions, yeah, you can come up and ask. Oh, yay. And thank you for contributing. Yeah, this was co-created. So thank you.